Hi there, it's me again and the Dark Muse podcast. I had so many reasons not to record this today, but I'm still doing it because I'm not letting myself sabotage this beautiful process of me embracing my authentic path. My Himalayan salt lamp decided to burn out as I was setting this up. I'm still recovering from quite a harsh cold that I had this week. And it's later in the day, so I totally missed the perfect light. But who cares, right? Because I left perfectionism in 2024. And I want to start today's podcast by saying, what a fucking week. Did we just go through a roller coaster of emotions that felt like an entire year? I certainly did. With everything we go through as a collective right now on a global level, and everything that each of us is experiencing individually in our lives, it's a huge combination of emotions that we are forced to feel. If we all take a step back from everything that is going on, we would see that all these events have one thing in common. They are designed to help the humanity reset the values back to factory setting. And by factory setting, I mean the natural way of being, remembering that we are a part of nature. We're not separate from nature, and we're not here to use it or abuse it. We are it. And if we are out of sync with nature, that means that we are out of sync with ourselves. And it's time to really review what we value and what we put as a priority. I think this process started back in 2020 with the pandemic, when the whole population of the planet Earth was forced to slow the fuck down because we were running at enormous speed in our daily lives where it was completely impossible to be present in the moment and to be conscious of what we're doing and why we're doing it. It was almost impossible to track down what was happening within us, to have a conscious living. That's why we had to slow down on a global level. Secondly, back in 2020, we were reminded of the work-life balance. That was a complete mess. There was no balance, especially in the United States of America, where being a workaholic was normal. And some people are still stuck in that toxic game. But many people took an opportunity to wake up and remember that their lives are not about work, that there are other things that are more important. We learned that we can work remotely, that we can set up our cozy home offices and be as productive or even more productive than we used to be in the office. We were forced to sit with ourselves without an opportunity to seek external validation and seek external happiness outside of ourselves. We also were reminded that our time in this body on this earth is very limited and that we should be making the best of it, not wasting days or weeks or months or years until we start going after our dreams. We also were reminded what a pleasure it is to be able to travel to all these different destinations around the world. I personally think that traveling is essential to spiritual growth, because as you travel and you see different places and connect with people from different cultures, your consciousness expands. You create new neurological connections in your brain. And throughout the pandemic, we've been processing those good reminders that humanity needed. And ever since the pandemic ended, many people changed their lives significantly. Many people started having spiritual awakenings around the time of COVID. And I believe what's happening right now is the next step to that process of remembering the true values. And the biggest lesson humanity is learning right now is detaching from material possessions and remembering that this is just an external toy that is good to have and that can enhance your life, but it's not the meaning of it. And there are other things that we need to remember as human beings, to come back to our nature, to start tuning back into nature, to rebuild that relationship, to rebuild that friendship with nature. And you can start that process today by working on yourself, by re-examining your values and what you pay attention to in your daily life, by checking in with yourself to see what has been defining your happiness and reviewing if that indeed has been making you happy. You can start doing that by allowing yourself to feel every single emotion that is coming through without the need to control it or suppress it. Emotion is energy in motion. It is supposed to flow. It is supposed to move through you. When you're not allowing yourself to experience a certain emotion, you are suppressing that energy within your body that sooner or later will turn into tension and physical symptoms. Because you are energy. The energy is supposed to flow freely through you. You need to let yourself experience all kinds of emotions. Let them be. You are human. We are designed to experience emotions. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you need to cry, please cry. If you need to scream, scream. If you want to laugh out loud, please do that. Don't you worry about your neighbors hearing you. Don't you worry about being uncomfortable for someone else. Just let yourself be a human. We've been programmed to suppress our emotions. Big girls don't cry? Who the hell said that? This is such an unhealthy statement. And if you follow that rule, that will lead you to anxiety, depression, and many other side effects. Big girls do cry. They allow themselves to experience all range of emotions because they acknowledge that they are a human being. What about men? I feel so sorry for modern men because they've been told that emotions are a weakness, that you do not show your emotions, that men don't cry, that emotions cloud their judgment. As a result, many men just prefer to shut off their emotions completely. As a side note, I personally think that an ability to be vulnerable and express true feelings and emotions is one of the sexiest parts. in a man. No one teaches you how to deal with your emotions. No one tells you what is the healthy way to process them. Our educational system does not teach us that. I really wish we would learn that in school as we grow up, to move through our adulthood, navigating our emotions better, knowing how to handle them, knowing how to process them and release them, so we could avoid so many unwanted side effects. I used to be one of these people. I had such a problem with crying. For many years, I couldn't cry at all. And it took me some deep inner work to find out why and to be able to finally start crying again. In my case, it was connected to my first childhood trauma that happened when I was 4 years old, and I was visiting a waterfall with my mother. And for whatever reason, I was crying and throwing a tantrum. And my mother was very ashamed of my behavior in public, so she was trying to silence me by covering my mouth with her hand and by spanking me, which was making me more hysterical. I was told that it is not okay to cry in front of other people, that it's not okay to show your real emotions. And look at the society right now. How often do you see people on your Instagram feed saying that they are having a bad day? How often do you see people posting about feeling sad or angry or heartbroken? Do you see people crying? Not often, right? All we see is happy, smiling moments, because that's what we normally share with others. We want to show that we're living a happy life and everything is just perfect, and that we're never experiencing a bad day. Forget about social media. It goes even beyond that. People are no longer sharing what they're truly feeling with their friends and families. We tend to put on a mask and say that everything is fine, even when it's not. We are afraid that we're going to be judged by expressing our true feelings and our emotions. I only relearned how to cry back in 2021. I was at the lowest point in my life. Living in LA, heartbroken, no job, running out of money, total superficial mess in my personal life, unreliable friendship connections, unhealthy dynamic in relationship with my mother, and the list goes on. And still, even with all those circumstances, I was not able to cry. I just couldn't physically, until I went to a plant medicine ceremony, which really reminded me the power of releasing through crying. It's the water that takes away all that energy from your body. I was reminded that you're able to release so much from your body energetically through the act of crying. And I remember the moment that triggered that. There was this talented musician in that ceremony, and he was playing the guitar and singing. And I was sitting with my eyes closed when I heard his song. And of course, he was singing about love. And I even had to open my eyes because I couldn't believe that it was a human singing. He did sound like an angel that came from heaven to bless people in the ceremony with his songs. I cried so much during that ceremony, to the point where I couldn't breathe. That's how much I needed to cry. That's how long overdue it was for my system. And since that day, I've been consciously allowing myself to cry more, to release that emotion timely, so it doesn't bother me along my journey. And last year, I experienced a whole new level of crying and its power, as I had an opportunity to cry as man was holding me, to fully release and cry it out. And it felt so safe and empowering to do that. Just surrender and be held in the moment. I've never felt anything like that. And I allowed myself to cry for as long as I needed. And when I stopped, I realized that that was indeed the first time in 33 years that I cried in the arms of the loved one. And after realizing that, I started crying again, but this time from gratitude that finally, after 33 years, I'm able to experience this and how beautiful this feels. And when I told the man that that was literally the first time in my life something like that happened, he didn't believe me because he said that I did it as a pro. Like I've been crying my entire life like that. And I took it as a compliment because it really showed me that I mastered something that once I couldn't even let myself do. I do believe that many health issues can be prevented or resolved if we really allowed ourselves to feel everything that we need to feel. You also need to understand that if you let yourself feel the emotion, it will go away after some time. But the longer you're running away from feeling that emotion, the longer you will have to fight it. And that takes a whole other level of strength to be continuously fighting against something. You know what happens when you continuously fight against some emotions that you don't want to feel and you're trying to suppress them, but you're getting tired. That's when people reach for substances that will help them numb themselves from feeling. And just like that, addictions happen. Because the only way to go through the day is to numb yourself. By doing that, you're taking one step further from being a human and one step closer to being a robot that doesn't feel anything and lives simply in material world, programmed for daily tasks and responsibilities, going on autopilot, shutting off your soul. Is this really how you want to spend the rest of your life? Time is precious, and it's never late to start feeling again. It's never too late to awaken your human part, to remember who the fuck you are, to go outside and sit in the sun and feel the warmth on your skin, to take your shoes off and to walk barefoot in the park, to sit by the water, to start bringing back those earth practices to your life. The best thing you can do right now for yourself is just allow yourself to be the way you are today, which might be very different from the way you were yesterday or will be tomorrow. Just full acceptance or whatever the hell that means. Remove the judgment. If you think that people around you are judging you, that means that you are the one who judges yourself to begin with. And that has to change. What are you waiting for? Are you ready to start feeling again? I think it's time. We were programmed to leave from our minds, from what we think. But how about you give it a try and start living from what you feel, from your heart? because your heart is your compass on this journey. Your mind might try to overanalyze everything and get you confused in the process, but your heart will always tell you the truth. So if you're not connecting with your feelings and your emotions, there is no way for you to hear your heart and what it's trying to tell you. Start feeling. And every time you get confused, you go back to feeling. That's where you're going to find clarity on any matter in your life. I want to offer you a short guided meditation reminding you how to feel. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Start scanning your body and the way it feels in the moment. Feel your feet touching the ground, your ankles, your knees, your legs all the way to your hips. Feel your low back, your belly, your chest, your fingers and your hands, your elbows, all the way to your shoulders. Feel your neck, your chin, your lips, your nose, your cheeks, your eyes and eyebrows, your ears and your forehead. Going all the way to the top of your head. Now let's take one more deep inhale together and release. Go back to any area of your body that felt tense and send some gentle movements to that part of your body. And come back to your heart. Place your hands on your heart and feel your heart beating. This is your inner source of energy. This is your inner source of power. This is your inner source of truth. What is your heart telling you right now? What does your heart need right now? What in your life has to change for your heart to feel better? Take a moment to have that conversation with your heart, because your heart will never lie to you. Your mind will, but not your heart. Thank your heart. Say thank you so much for supporting my life. Thank you so much for being there for me all this time. Thank you for making me human. Thank you for making me feel all love in this world. I love you, heart. I'm sorry I've been ignoring you. Please forgive me. I hear you now, and I know what I need to do to make you happy. Let's take one more deep breath and exhale in gratitude. I hope you're all smiling right now, because I am. No matter what is going on in your external life, you always have your heart to come back to. Your heart is there for you 24/7. So treat it with love and respect, and give your heart a chance to be your inner voice, guiding you through your daily life. That was powerful. I hope you felt it too. My heart just told me that it would appreciate if I would be a little more spontaneous sometimes in my life. And I heard the message. What did yours tell you? Write it down. I would love to see the comments. On that note, I will leave you with your heart, and I will see you next week.